shrimp out the dollar. Met some girls from Guatemala, now they trying to holler.
Now before they would have bothered, now I'm trying to be a scholar, cause she giving all the knowledge to me.
Knowledge to me.
Doing her work every night of the week.
Night of the week.
Like she chilling up at college with me.
College with me, but we cruising, man. Rolling up at 430. Kush same color as a Kobe Road jersey. Or a throwback worthy. Giraffe ass high. Fresh breeze just passing us by. Cause I'm cruising on a Sunday afternoon. I got my good shoes on. Ain't got no bad news. Here's what you say to the lady. Let me squeeze you. Oh, let me hold you. Oh, let me squeeze you. Oh, let me hold you. Why? Cause I don't wanna leave this party, baby, without you. What you waiting for? Hop in the ride.
Okay.
What you waiting for? Hop in the ride. So I arrive at a party at 9. I reside beside Sim. Think when we fly, time's on our side. But look again, then it's 11 p.m. Chalk it on the board. Time to sin. Let's begin. Hey, you're kinda cute, and I got the loot to befriend both you and your girlfriend too.
You single Tim Jones?
Well, that depends. Just then she turned to a friend and she said,
I really like him.
Say word.
I really like him.
Oh yeah.
I really, 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 really like.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Jct TV. I am Joe Carroll, Joe Carroll, according to Poppa Tee. On my right, I have the infamous JDX. On my left, I have Henson Rosemond. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to Big Al, who's making all this happen so that you guys can partake of this show. And also for Mike, who opens the doors for us, lets us in here. And let's get this show on the road. First of all, thanks for tuning in to everybody. Our topic today, which we will try to cover in depth, is commitment and practicality. Commitment and practicality. So let's see where this goes, because these two words to me, I'm going to really have to think about it, and I'm hoping I can jump off of what these two gentlemen have to say, especially with the word practicality. So anybody want to start it off?
Let me just give it a try.
All right.
Because I truly believe to commit is a sign of dedication and a sign of determination, because every one of us have to have something to commit to, especially if you're a family, a husband with children. What is your purpose in their life when you commit yourself to your wife to spend the rest of your life with her? It's a commitment. And I truly see it in a manner that it's something that is very meaningful to commit to something that is very purposeful. Because in commitment, it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of endurance.
Endurance, yeah,
to
definitely.
Stick to the point or to the goal of whatever you plan to achieve. And I will say that commitment to me is a very deep and inspiring word, because I also am a dedicated man also. I commit myself to whatever I do, because I'm driving all the way from Hartford, scout for wonderful people that I see that have talent to bring on this show. And I'm so happy to see that Mr. Rosemond is one of the few of the people that I have been taken down here. And so I will say commitment to me is a very good task. It's a wonderful task, and it's not everybody that can be committed, because it's a responsibility that takes a lot of dedication.
Do you think that it's something that can be taught to children by their parents? Or you said that not everybody can be committed in the best way. Do you think that it is taught when we're children, or that we are just born with that kind of thing?
I think everything that is in us, everyone has to be taught. I will say everybody have to be taught, because nobody born knowing. Nobody born knowing. Okay. So since none of us born knowing, everything we learned, everything we know have to be learned. So I truly believe if we have the proper education of teaching, that commitment is a word that I could say that we ought to learn it and practice it, because it doesn't only take learning, it also takes practicing to be committed.
Yeah, absolutely. This gentleman to my left has quite a background, and he committed himself to quite a few different ventures in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious to hear what Mr. Henson Rosemond has to say about commitment.
Commitment is a way of life. It's a philosophy of life. Which a philosophy is a way of life. And no matter what you intend in this life, you should commit yourself to it. And not just committing yourself to it, but you must also have that practical aspect of you. If you don't, you lose out. It's like just saying, hey, you're just blowing warm air over anything. But if you commit yourself to it, you can get to the next level. An example, you said something about children a while ago, and I just want to add to that. It's in psychology, it's a form of conditioning. It's a positive form of conditioning, where you teach people within the environment to commit themselves to a particular way. And if they follow that particular way and they practice it, they get somewhere.
Okay, interesting. And yeah, that's absolutely true, I think. So when I think of commitment, I always relate things to our Creator, right? And to me, whoever or whatever created this realm that we're in here, and the one that we're going to after we lose our physical bodies, had to be committed to this, had to be committed to us. In Christianity, human beings are God's children. And he wanted us to grow from a child to an adult, to mature in love. And so he is showing the commitment to guide us, raise us. And no matter what we seem to do, whether, we can make mistake after mistake after mistake, and he is committed to making sure that we get to our ultimate purpose as a human being, right? So that's where we get it from, I think.
Commitment.
I think we get the tendency.
Is it taught? But since you talk about that being that you don't have no knowledge about, how do you know he is committed the way that you explain that he is committed for us from the starting to the end?
How could something that I can't see be committed to us, right? Well, I mean, all you have to do is look at the length of human history and the fact that the universe, as we know it, which is probably a very small amount, a very small portion of the universe, the universe has never wavered in all of its history that we know of. I mean, scientists can point to billions of years of universal history. So nothing has changed. There has to be a certain commitment to that in order for something to remain like that. So when we commit to something, we continue operating under the same philosophy, the same set of ethics, the same, like a work ethic or something like that. We continue to do that because we are committed. In a marriage, right? So I've been married over 20 years, and there are challenges in any marriage, right? Even friendships. So if you're committed, you're always looking above what's going on right now. So in other words, with my wife, right? She's from another country. We have different kind of maybe value standards. We have different ways of communicating. And it has been a challenge along the way. So if I'm committed, I'm not going to just toss in the towel after a little bit. I'm committed to the goal and the purpose that I went into it with.
Into it with.
So when I talk about God, I'm talking about a creator who was committed to the goal and purpose for which he created. The purpose is to have a family with whom he can have a relationship of love. I mean, anybody, no matter whether you believe in God or not, understands the concept of love.
That's the fact. And Mr. Roseman, what do you want to comment on this?
There is one line which is in the Bible that says, what you sow, what you reap. It's a universal law. It's being practiced in everything. Doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you put, the way you make your bed, your lie is the same thing. Yeah. And that particular line, if you reference it to commitment, if you make a commitment, you have to be practical about the way you use that commitment.
Because no matter what you do, in the end, you'll get the result.
Yes.
But
it's like planting a garden. You know, you sow seeds, you plant the garden, you got to clean it, you got to water it, there must be a commitment. And if you don't nurture it, you can't get there. So it's a universal. It's part of the universal law, a commitment. What you sow, what you reap.
So is that the practical aspect of the word commitment? The fact that, take the garden or raising children, right?
You're right.
You have to nurture. You have to water the garden. You have to feed it. You have to do all that kind of stuff. That's the practical aspect of it?
That's the practical aspect of it.
Okay, good, because I've had a hard time with that word practicality.
Practicality.
I didn't know how to relate
So
it.
that's the practical part we're supposed to discuss, right?
It also goes into, let's take something which is very common, like somebody who's obese. And you say to them, listen, this is what you're supposed to have every day as a diet. You use fruits, etc. And they said, okay, I do it one day, and they're not committed to it. But if you're committed to it, what happens is, the practical aspect of it is doing it every day.
The exercising, the
then
willpower.
You will get
the results.
Yes. And starting with small steps can help in the commitment and help in achieving or continuing your commitment. Small steps, don't try to tackle the whole thing at once. So, listen, I don't want to go off on another tangent because we only have a couple of minutes left.
I just want to add something into practicality. Practicality, when you know what you're doing, this is where practicality comes in. It's like a new idea, you create it, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. That's where practicality
Because
comes
I was listening to something this week, and this brother on the radio station said something. Everything that you see today was a thought in another man's mind.
Yes.
So it's a manifestation. Practicality is like
everything comes from spirit. If you go back to our Father, he says, our Father who art in heaven, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So that means so is below, so is above. So everything starts from spirit. From spirit, it transcends into your mind. The mind is like an amplifier. It receives, and it also sends signals. So you receive, first it's a thought, and then a thought becomes a reality.
Yes. I asked a friend of mine the other day, he's struggling terribly with finances. So we were talking and I asked him, so where do you think money comes from? And I had just been thinking of that myself. Okay, where did money come from? And I think that topic there, if we wanted to discuss that, it's going to take more than the few seconds we have left before we go into another segment.
Before we turn over to Poppa Tee.
Yes. So maybe we can hold that thought, and we will let our chief engineer, Big Al, take us to the next portion of the show.
Which we will turn on to Poppa Tee to close up the segment of today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to kick off by thanking the CEO of JDX Productions, none other than Danny. I also want to thank Joe Carroll. They did a wonderful and outstanding job on the roundtable. And to my left, I have the pleasure of actually being able to sit here and powwow for a couple of minutes with the outstanding Henson Roseman. How are you today?
It's my pleasure meeting you, sir.
Outstanding. It was a pleasure to actually see you and to hear you actually commenting on the concept of commitment and practicality, right? And some of the things that you said what I gathered as the foundation of what you committed to that subject was cultivation.
Very true.
That cultivation is the binding word between those two words, commitment and practicality. I want you to respond on that, and then we can go a little deeper.
In everything in this life, you must cultivate it.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't matter what.
Indeed.
You work one good year, you make a decision. You
Okay.
buy something like a house
Okay.
that changes your life forever. One good year, that's all you need.
Okay.
You cultivate it. Then the commitment starts. Then the practicality is how you run things and what you make it to be.
Wow. You know, that's beautiful because now you're talking my language because I believe in prosperity, success, and abundance.
Right.
Right? And that's what I profess on this planet, right? I believe in constant and never-ending improvement. Everything is about growth.
That's
So
correct.
cultivation being the foundation of growth,
That's
right?
correct.
And commitment, right? And the practicality of that commitment.
That's right.
Right? It's actually what gives you the energy and the force to move forward to
That's
bring
correct.
these things into fruition and
correct.
manifest it into reality.
That's correct.
Right? So what I want you to talk about at this point is actually how or some of your concepts of manifestation.
My concept of manifestation is first, you have to make a commitment. You go out there, you educate yourself, get a job, and then you commit yourself to that job.
Okay.
Then you make a decision. One good year. It could be 20 years from now. One good year. You make a major decision. I'm not talking about buying a car. I'm talking about a major decision that will change your life. And then from there you cultivate it. Then the practical aspect is you learn to run a home. You learn to take care of the home. It's like raising a child, having a home, especially in this country. You have winter, you have summer, you have to do these things.
Okay.
So then that's where the practicality comes in. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay. So what I gather from what you're saying, more or less, is that when you begin anything, everything has a beginning, everything has an end.
That's correct.
Right? And then it recycles.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Everything has to be has to come from the spirit,
okay.
because it's like a coin, head and tails.
Okay.
Everything must come from nothing.
Okay.
From nothing
To something.
to something. Here, which is the mirror of the spiritual world, where we live in right now.
Okay.
Here is what we call, okay, you take it from a thought, and the thought becomes something.
Okay.
Right.
So let's talk about then, because there are different levels, and I heard you speaking about leveling up when you were speaking with the brothers earlier.
Yes.
Right? I believe that there are two levels to anything, the
Very
major
true.
and the minor.
Yes.
The biggest mistake that I see that most people actually make when they talk about manifesting, right, is actually giving major time to something minor
That's correct.
or minor time to something major.
It got to be even.
Right. So how do you actually profess to our listeners today how to actually create a balance there or how to overshadow one with the other?
This is on an individual basis. It's all about what you truly want. This is a secret.
Okay.
What you truly want
Okay.
will manifest itself. If you only give lip service to anything, it's not going to manifest itself. You must truly want it.
Indeed. And let's tell them how you actually cultivate that want, because that's the key.
There are many factors that come into play here. Your environment, the way you were raised, if you listen well, the way your parents train you. You take all of these things. They come into play. You go to school, you get a degree or whatever. If you don't have a degree, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But all of the good things that comes together will lead you to make a major decision.
Let me ask you this, because we have all levels of people that actually tune into the show, and we thank you, our viewers. Please continue to tune in because I'm going to do my best to always bring you the information and data that you need to process to become greater in your day-to-day life. Right? One of the things that we make a major mistake is we talk about New Year's resolutions and yearly annual desires. And I believe that until you can control 24 hours in your life or one day, you can never, ever control your full life. What is your take on that?
That's an interesting aspect you just bring up there. There are things you can do because thoughts, many thoughts flows at the same time within your head. there is a technique which is how to control your thoughts.
There you go. Talk to me. Talk to us.
So what you do is, it's like saying, okay, you sit back in a very quiet place, and it could be a room in your house by yourself, and you go, like you say, 1, 2, and you keep that thought until you can keep that for at least a minute. You have to practice that. When you do that, then you can control what comes in and what goes out, because thoughts are bombarding you all the time.
Indeed.
And you have to centralize your thoughts.
Indeed.
When you learn to centralize your thoughts, you're good. Now, I'll give you another example of that. It's like writing. If you speak the same way you write, you don't have a problem writing. But if you speak differently and you write differently, you have a problem.
Indeed. So the key is cultivating control over your thoughts.
That's correct.
Because thoughts are coming in all day long.
All kinds of
And
thoughts.
if you don't feed your mind with positive thoughts, then the negative ones can seep in and
right.
actually control your destiny, because your
Right.
thoughts control your destiny here on this planet. True.
Yeah. I'm not religious, but I like to quote the Bible, and I'll tell you why. Because most people think the Bible is a religious book, and the Bible is a book of philosophy, a way of life. And in the New English version of the Bible, it says, "And when Jesus break the bread, the devils enter Judas." Now, the idea, the bread represents the body.
Okay.
When you're angry, what happens to you?
You disturb your body.
All your windows, all your doors are wide open. So you have all kinds of thoughts entering. But if peace be still,
Peace be still.
and then you can cultivate the right ones.
Indeed. So it's practicality. You're talking about the scripture in terms of practicality. It's
Yes,
a book of
yes.
practicality.
It's a book. It's a
saying
way
that
of
if
life.
you do this, this will happen.
Yeah.
If you do that, this will happen.
That's right.
You know, I heard you speak earlier about reaping what we sow.
Yes.
We most definitely will, whether we like it, whether we believe that.
That is
or
true.
not. The principles of that is definitely
It's
true.
it's called a universal law.
Indeed. That's what it is.
Peace be still. Look, people are looking for God. They say, heaven is up there. No, it's within here. You know? So the whole idea is, God says, how do you want to know me? He says, peace be still if you want to know me. Go meditate.
That's the word. Because that's the word that was just simmering with me, was the actual term of meditation.
Yeah.
And the scripture tells us that how do we take control over the forces and direction of our life? By the daily renewing of our spirit. Meditate over this word both day and night. But they're looking for a word in the scripture to meditate over. To meditate over the word of whatever you desire in your life,
That's
whether it
correct.
be success, prosperity, abundance, failure, prosperity. Then those are the things that you must meditate on.
The steps are, first, you must have control. Control of what? Your thoughts.
Exactly.
When you have control of your thoughts and you meditate, doors open to you. Doors that you don't even have ideas they exist, they will open
Exactly.
to you. It's like this wall here. To every wall, there's a door. It was a guy from South America, I think Venezuelan guy, who wrote the book. And that was the title of the book. To every wall, there's a door.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, it took us a minute. I just have to bring this to mind because my brother used to always say, my brother Blue, right? He used to always say, if y'all don't conduct yourself in a better fashion, just through those walls, we're going to start making some new doors.
That is
right?
true.
So the thing is that we have to remember, right, that the key is constant meditation,
Yes.
concentration, and control your thoughts. As you said, this has to be practiced, and it has to be practiced on a daily
Yes.
basis. It's not something that's just going to happen. So the thing is, if I want a particular thing, or I want a particular thing to happen, if I just focus on this right here, right,
It
day
takes time.
in and day out, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. If you take Bruce Lee as an example.
Yes, sir.
Because I did martial arts for 20 years, so
Oh,
I can
fantastic.
quote Bruce Lee.
There you go.
Most people look at his movies. And Bruce Lee he studied philosophy. He quoted,
Okay.
he said, be like water all the time.
everything,
All right.
everything.
And one of the things about Bruce Lee is the time he put in. He practiced 8 times a day. And that's why he was what he was.
Indeed.
You know, you can't go in there and say, okay, I spent 5 minutes because a guy said to me, hey, go meditate. And he says, I achieved that. And then you're going to achieve. No. It has to be a way of life. It's got to be a philosophy you got to practice for your life. Then
Wow.
you're going to reap
What you sow.
what you sow.
Indeed, because that's the basic foundation.
Yeah.
If I want to be a master, like they talk about Kobe Bryant a lot, they say Kobe Bryant missed the game-winning shot. You don't see him do that twice. And so when everybody else went home or went out to party, he stayed back and he stayed in the gym for like 8 hours, practicing over and over and over.
I just
Bruce
want to add,
practiced over and
want to
over
add
and over.
something, talking about Kobe Bryant. In anything in life, you hear people say, I'm a professional. If you can't supervise yourself, you're not a professional.
Who can you
Everything you
supervise?
do, you're supposed to supervise yourself.
So we're going to actually end off here when we talk about practicality and commitment with the key term today being discipline.
That's right.
Discipline will take us where we need to be.
That's right.
Because it's the practical way of committing ourselves for anything we so desire, and hopefully you desire success.
Yeah.
As in Pot and always, we say success awaits us. Keep it coming. Thank you,
my
Henson
pleasure.
Roseman. It's been a pleasure. We got to have him back. Success awaits us, folks. Keep it coming.
Two-tone L-E-L-N-E-S-S-N. Yes, we are the very best.
$7 popping collars, eating shrimp, $5 met some girls from Guatemala, now they trying to holler.
Now before they wouldn't bother, now I'm trying to be a scholar, cause she giving all the knowledge to me.
Knowledge to me.
Doing homework every night of the week.
Night of the week.
Like she chilling up at college with me.
College with me, but we cruising, man. Rolling up at 4:30. Kush same color as a Kobe Road jersey, or a throwback worthy. Giraffe ass high, fresh breeze just passing us by. Cause I'm cruising.